Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 16 of Valiant Effort. I'm Josh.
I'm Nick, and this episode is called Far, Far Away. Ouch. Why did you do that?
Because you said that I would not do that, so I did. Hey, we have a new format. Do you know that?
No.
Because we ran long on our last episode and you divided it into the full episode of the Quantum and Woody and then the little short.
Yeah.
We now have a new format for shorts.
Okay.
For like mini-sodes. And they're called Valiant Effort Interacts, which my wife very cleverly came up with the name because the acronym is VEI, which is the name of Valiant's company.
Uh-huh.
So good on her for that. Yeah. And there will be more Valiant Effort Interacts episodes. We need emails for that, though. So send us emails. vepodcast@gmail.com. I think we're also probably going to be doing some interviews and in the future, not in the near future, but in the nearish future. And we'll put those maybe in that kind of format. And we got to play that game, too.
Yes, the game will be fun. Which we were supposed to play last week, actually yesterday, but I kind of dropped the ball and forgot to tell you I was off all day long. Oops.
I'm so mad at you.
I bet you. Ow! Ugh. I'm gonna get bruised there. Not really.
Archer and Armstrong head to Area 51 in Nevada, a secret Project Rising Spirit institution, in the hopes of discovering the true origins of Archer. Mary Maria, whose mind has been taken over by Archer's parents, is also there in the hopes of finding a way to recreate the boon. What do they find? A portal to the Faraway. So the Faraway is this place where the sun never sets, the plants are made of metal, and there's dinosaurs. And Archer and Armstrong and Mary Maria appear in the middle of a dinosaur stampede being caused by a flying saucer. Still with us? Good. Mary Maria and Archer escape, but are later captured by Roanoke Indians. Archer is abducted and meets General Redacted, who has some probing questions for him. He escapes and stumbles upon a group that live their life according to his teachings. Redacted attacks the Roanokes, but Armstrong and Mary Maria defend them. Archer argues with his disciples and frees Ivar and Apata from imprisonment in the time stream. With the knowledge that Redacted will attack again, Archer heads to the Roanoke village to enlist Armstrong as a fighter pilot. Instead, he finds Armstrong and Mary Maria in Congress. After an aerial battle, Archer steals the time map from Ivar and leaves the Faraway, abandoning everyone else.
Looking at you read off your
my puns?
Sure. And all I see is you written in bold in pencil, sex! With an exclamation point. So I'm curious to know what that's about.
Well, we'll get to that later.
I'm sure we will.
I want to also let you know that we are not going to have an Easter egg segment in this episode, and I'll tell you why. This whole thing is an Easter egg.
Okay.
There are just Easter eggs scattered throughout, and it would be us like saying, this was the thing, and the thing was good, Easter eggs. And then we'd talk about Easter eggs for 45 minutes.
What if I had one, though?
Bring them up in context, and you can then insert your guitar riff.
I don't really have one.
Oh, okay.
I was going to have one with Ambrose Bierce, but I forgot to look him up, because I know that he's a historical person. But I'm not familiar with who he is.
So we have our second Zero issue. We read Harbinger Zero, which was kind of Harada's backstory. And now we have Archer and Armstrong number 0. And this is the story of Gilgamesh as told by Armstrong.
Yes, please talk about Gilgamesh, because I know that Gilgamesh is pretty much the first story ever written, at least as we know in history. And I know that you've read Gilgamesh. I have not. So what is the story of Gilgamesh?
I have read Gilgamesh, and I reread it this week for this podcast because Gilgamesh is one of my favorite stories ever. And that's mostly because Patrick Stewart is awesome. And there's an episode of Star Trek where he tells the story of Gilgamesh. and it's great. You should watch that episode. It's called Darmok.
I'm sure you'll show it to me one day.
Sure. So, Gilgamesh is the story of a king who mistreats the people who live in his kingdom of Uruk, and the people say to the sun god, stop him from mistreating us. So the god sent Enkidu, who's a wild man, to confront Gilgamesh, and in the fight the two end up becoming friends, and Gilgamesh realizes the value of friendship, and he becomes a better ruler. And then Gilgamesh and Enkidu have adventures. One of the adventures is they go and they fight the great bull of heaven, and they're able to slay the bull of heaven, but Enkidu is killed during the fight. And Gilgamesh is so broken up by this that he spends the rest of his days trying to find the secret to immortality. And he tracks down Utnapishtim, who really is kind of Noah, because they're Utnapishtim and Noah. They're both the story of the flood. They're the same guy. They both built arks and stuff and survived the flood. But anyway, he finds Utnapishtim and to try to find the secret of immortality. And he succeeds, but he loses the secret. So,
how does he lose the secret?
A snake takes it.
Is it the devil?
No, it's a snake.
Well, you were saying Noah, and I know it's biblical.
Well, I think that it's interesting that the story of the flood shows up in several different texts, because floods would happen and great ones would happen. So I love the story of Gilgamesh. I think it's a wonderful story. I was telling it to my son last night, and I started talking about Shamhat, the prostitute, and my son said, "What's a prostitute?" And he's 5, and I'm not ready to have that conversation with him. So I just said, "No, it's another name for Shamhat."
Yeah, he's a little too young to know that stuff yet.
So, this, when this was announced, the Zero issue was announced, they said it was going to be the story of Gilgamesh. I was very excited.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because I love the story, and as I read it, I was like, oh, that's awesome that they did that choice. That's cool. So, I thought it was great. You don't have the context of Gilgamesh. How did you interpret it as an origin story for the three brothers?
I liked the origin story, but I know that they spoke about the story of Gilgamesh very briefly in there, and I was a little I didn't really understand what was going on. I had to reread it a few times.
Okay.
So that's actually why I wanted to ask you about what the story was about, and I actually understand more of some of the ties that they did into it. I mean, it kind of made me feel like I should read or will read Gilgamesh at some point just to understand more of what was going on. It was a fun story though. I enjoyed it.
It is not a hard read, Gilgamesh. It's it's a poem.
Well,
so.
yeah, I'm looking at it, and it's actually it's a very small book.
Yeah. And there's lots of spaces. So some of the things that were in both stories is you have the man scorpions. The man scorpion, they're the protectors of Utnapishtim's realm, which is called the Faraway in both places. You have the Garden of the Sun. The monster Humbaba is mentioned in both. So I thought it was pretty neat that he chose some things, and then he said, well, this is how Armstrong, because Armstrong's the writer of the story of Gilgamesh. Yeah. So I thought it was neat how he said, well, Armstrong took some liberties to tell a little bit more dramatic a story. He put stuff out in and out, stuff in different orders and things like that, but that's okay.
Yeah, it was neat for Armstrong to say that he had to lie a little bit to make it sound a little more fun, and it turned out to be a perfect poem for him, so he never wrote again.
So it does bear the question: if he wrote Gilgamesh, how much of the things in Gilgamesh really did happen? And now he's telling what did happen, but that happened a long time ago. So is he an unreliable narrator?
Oh.
So what we read, I don't take necessarily as fact, because it's him telling the story of him writing the story of Gilgamesh.
Well, I'm surprised that he, within the character of Armstrong, he didn't make himself out to be some uber mighty awesome person with it when he was telling the story to Archer, like when Ivar and Gilad were fighting. Why didn't Armstrong just tell about the part of him going in to break him up and just be all sparkly and shiny and, oh, I'm the hero of this story? I kind of expected his personality to do that, and he didn't, which surprised me a little bit, actually.
Yeah, he actually kind of took himself away from it, where Ivar is Gilgamesh and Gilad is Enkidu in the story, and he is just the narrator. He doesn't even really mention his role in it.
He's barely, and he even said that the king was trying to figure out what his role was, and he's like, "Oh, you're good for a larf." And he's like, "Yeah, that's good."
I do think I just heard you say Gilad, and I do think that this comic clarifies the pronunciation.
Oh, it does?
Because it's Gilgamesh.
Oh.
So I'm thinking it's Gilad.
But Gilgamesh is Ivar.
Well, parts of them are all Gilgamesh too. But it's Gilgamesh is the pronunciation of that word. So I'm just saying, I just think that.
So you think it's Gilad because it's Gilgamesh, which makes sense.
Yeah.
I'll try to remember to say Gilad from now on.
That's okay. Can I talk about the Faraway real quick? In the original Valiant universe, there was the Lost Land, which the Faraway is kind of this, and the Lost Land was this place where Turok and his companion Andar, and actually the Lost Land dates back to the Gold Key era when they called it the Lost Valley, but the Lost Land was this place where Turok and Andar stepped out of time, and they lived in this place where dinosaurs existed, and all of time existed, and people from different eras in time existed. And then there was this really big thing in there called Unity, but we won't talk about that yet. Later. So I thought it was neat that they brought in the Faraway, because it's still kind of the same place. There's dinosaurs, and there's people who are out of time, which is kind of neat. Did you notice the dinosaurs had feathers?
Yeah. I didn't know if that was just a take on nobody knows what the dinosaurs really looked like, so they just added feathers.
Well,
wait, actually, yeah, just realized.
The more recent theories on dinosaurs is that they do have feathers, and when Fred Van Lente wrote the script, he gave it to Clayton Henry, and Clayton Henry argued, "I am not drawing dinosaurs with feathers on them." And then he saw like a National Geographic special, and he wrote Fred Van Lente back, and he said, "I'll put feathers on the dinosaurs." I also liked how in the original Valiant universe, the three brothers were just immortal, and there was no reason why. They were just born that way. They're special.
But that doesn't make any sense ever. How do they get to their age if they're just born that way?
Right.
But anyway.
So Fred Van Lente feels very similar to you. I read in an interview that he did for comicbook.com that it kind of drove him crazy that there was no reason that they were immortal. So he created the story of the Boon to give the characters immortality.
I like that much better.
Okay.
Because they have to get to their age somehow, but if they're born with immortality, they're just going to be an infant their entire life. So I like the Boon. Some of the things that I noted in the first book, in the very first page, before we started getting to the story of Gilgamesh, Armstrong or Archer, I don't remember who, but they mentioned something about the beast with two backs. Did we? What is that?
So that Archer said that, and he's quoting Shakespeare, and the beast was with two backs is people who are having sex. Missionary.
Okay, yes. Yes.
Sometimes it's not the beast with two backs, but in this case it is.
Okay. And what did Armstrong need $44 for? He says he's got two tens and three eights, and they could split it up between them two.
Oh, yeah, no. Armstrong is referring to women. He's got two girls he rates a 10 on his scale, and three girls he rates as 8s on his scale.
Oh. All right.
And Archer doesn't necessarily understand what he's saying either. That's why he says
$44.
Yeah, he's like, so whatever he says about the 44, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. All right. Probably should have gotten that, but... All right, going into the story of Gilgamesh, Armstrong is, as I mentioned earlier, the king said that he's good for a larf. I remember when we first read Archer and Armstrong, I was kind of dissecting a little bit about Armstrong's personality and why he's so carefree and happy-go-lucky. And I figured it was because of all the life struggles that he went through for 1,000 years. He just got to a point where he's like, I don't care anymore. I'm just gonna just have fun and be merry and drink all the time. But in this story, he's still goofy. 1,000 years ago, he's still goofy, and his personality hasn't changed. I feel like in real life, 1,000 years of experiences would change someone at least a little bit. Not just, if I'm goofy now, maybe 1,000 years from now, I'll be completely insane or just despondent all the time, or vice versa. If I start off all serious, kind of like Eric from X-Men of War, and 1,000 years goes by, I would turn out like Armstrong because I just don't care anymore. So I was kind of thinking maybe he could have been a little more serious.
I think he is. I think he is a little bit more serious in this story. I understand. I certainly understand what you're saying. I know that I read somewhere that they made a concentrated effort to give the three brothers different personalities.
Okay.
So, one was the smart one was the warrior, and one was the poet. Perhaps, he's skinnier in the past. So I think the beer belly certainly, that the alcoholism and
yeah.
And such that has happened in the time since.
You think he's died of alcohol poisoning a few times?
Yeah, he might have died a couple times from alcohol poisoning. Except that, he's immortal.
Right. Well, that's what I mean. It's like all of a sudden the boon just revives him every time. Why did those 7 wise men just stand there as they took the boon? They were speaking in riddles, and they're like, we're just going to steal this. And they're like, they just let him go.
Because Archer's teachings are for non-interference. Those are Archer's disciples. And also, they may know that they have to let them have the boon because of time paradoxes.
Paradoxes are so elaborate and confusing, and
because they are from the future.
Yeah.
And they are aware, we learn later that they are aware of who Archer is, so one would assume they're aware of who Armstrong is, and perhaps they're also aware of how Armstrong became immortal, and they have to know that that's important.
All right. Yeah, mind rape like usual when it comes to all that stuff, time travel. I also think that's really cool that Armstrong wrote the story Gilgamesh, by the way, and he And Archer was like, "Oh, I see Ivar and I see Gilad, but I don't see you." And Armstrong's like, "I'm everywhere. I wrote the thing," and that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I thought it was a very solid Zero issue, especially because I like the story of Gilgamesh. So it was one big Easter egg to me.
Yeah.
What's cool about the Zero issue is that it ties very nicely into the next arc in the story, because the next arc in the story is about the Faraway. Sometimes Zero issues don't really have anything to do with what's going on. Like the Harbinger Zero issue we read, it was a nice backstory for Harada, but it didn't really have anything to do with the rest of the stuff that we read in that volume. But this really feels like the prologue to this storyline. So let's talk about the Faraway storyline. So there's General Redacted.
Yeah, that's hilarious. I'm trying to fill in every single...
So that was one of my questions. Did you try to put the curse words in?
I did. I could put them in most spots, but there were some that I just couldn't make sense.
They didn't make sense. So that to me means, and I agree, so that to me means that not everything he was saying was a curse word and just something that the author didn't want you to know the word to.
Right, like when he wants to put something in the guy's hole, and the old guy just looks at him and is like, "You want to do what to my hole?" And so they had a little fun with that for the next few panels, which was kind of funny.
So, for Free Comic Book Day last May, they had the Valiant Handbook come out, and the Valiant Handbook is basically just like a little guidebook to who the characters are, and they give character descriptions and first appearances and all those kind of things. And they made a page for General Redacted, and it is the best page in the handbook because there's all of this redacted parts. And honestly, I know it was free, but it's probably not free anymore because, it's been out for a little while, so you have to buy it. So if you find a copy of it, you should buy it just for that one page. It is hilarious.
Did you try to fill in all the blanks?
When I read the comic, I did. When I read the handbook, there was too many spaces for me to do that. So
the hardest one to fill in was, I think, in book 4 or 5 when he just starts when he was lashing out at one of the characters, and I could fill in most of those blanks except for 1 or 2 of them. I don't remember who he was yelling at though.
He has quite the predilections as we get further in the story.
Anyway.
Oh, you don't want to go there?
Oh, what? Where am I going?
The things that General Redacted enjoys later in the story. The probing.
Oh, the probing. Yes. What? How he does it 3 to 4 times a day now? I thought he was trying to convince Archer that it was normal, and he was trying to get some information out of Archer.
Oh, so your interpretation, I like this. So your interpretation is that he doesn't like it 3 to 4 times a day. He just is trying to convince Archer to do it.
Yes.
Whereas my interpretation is this guy is messed up.
Yeah. Yeah. I took it as in.
Oh, come on! I'd do it 3 to 4 times a day. Why don't you get down on the table?
Right.
No, that is not how I took it at all.
Yeah, well, General Redacted seems to have some skeletons in his closet that he doesn't even know about yet.
So one of the Easter eggs in the first book of the Faraway arc is when they're hacking into the Area 51 computers and they say, "Oh, the information about who you are, Archer, is not here. It's in the nursery."
Yeah.
And the nursery is offline.
And that was because of the fight that happened with Bloodshot, right?
Because of Harbinger Wars, yeah.
Yeah, with Gamma.
Yep. So I thought that was a neat little wink, wink, nudge, nudge to the audience. I also liked how they mentioned that some of the nanite tech comes from the Faraway.
Oh, that was neat. Yeah, and that Armstrong is filled with nanite technology.
Yeah.
They hinted at something that he has nanites, and he's like, nanite what?
Ivar, yeah, this is in the final book. Ivar hints. He says, "Oh, your nanite body," and Armstrong's like, "What?" And he goes, "Oh, has that not happened yet?"
Does that mean that Bloodshot turns into Armstrong at some point?
I would not guess that, but maybe.
Well, Bloodshot can shapeshift into anything he wants to because he can do anything that he can or wants to do. So maybe he kind of pulls a T-1000 and makes himself look like somebody else. And you're like, on to the next.
I'm moving on. Mary Maria's got her parents in her head.
Yeah, so we finally figure out what happened to her. And I don't like her. I don't like her because of her parents. So parents are just
you don't like
brainwashing her and making her do all these evil things.
You don't like Mean Mary Maria.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't like Mean Mary Maria.
You don't like Mary Maria and the twins.
And the twins? Who's the twins? Oh, from Johnny 1 and Johnny 2?
No. Remember she was pregnant?
Yes.
And she was holding the guns in her pregnant belly. And then she comes out and they're like, "What happened to your baby?" And she doesn't have a shirt on, just a bra. And she goes, "It's twins."
I didn't read that bubble. I just looked at the image because I was so infatuated with what they drew.
Oh, jeez, Nick. Well, it's twins.
Wow, I didn't even see her say that.
It's a hilarious line.
It's like that South Park episode where they're showing
Atas.
No, they're showing the kids in school. They're trying to figure out who's a sex addict, and they show them the kids a picture of like some porn or something, and then afterwards they ask, "Oh, what color was the lady's mirror?" And like two boys said yellow, and all the girls said yellow, but the rest of the boys were deemed to be sex addicts because they didn't even notice that. So according to that, I'm a sex addict. I did not like the fact how she got into Area 51 with all those guns, and that guy is even doing the metal detector right around her. That would never happen in real life. There's no way she could get into Area 51 like that. No way she could smuggle those in. That was a little unbelievable to me. But, how else are you going to get guns into Area 51? In reality, there's probably no real way to do it. But...
Well, it's because they're stupid. He's not... Is he? Oh, is that a metal detector?
That's a metal detector.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's weird. Okay. I don't know how that happened.
I mean, he could... They could say that they didn't want to potentially hurt the baby by doing any kind of radioactive whatever that way. But I don't see how that could fly in real life. I feel like they would still do it. Or have her walk through a metal detector, which is even better. Anyway, but you know what? I'm willing to just let it go and let it slide because she's got to, got to get the story on. So yeah, she got in there with guns. I like how the alien speaks in astrology.
What does that mean?
What?
What's astrology?
I think it's astrology or zodiac signs.
Is it? I don't know. Is that what that is?
Yeah, that's what they're speaking in.
I looked at it and I don't know what that was. So. Zodiac sign. Zodiac is astrology.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I find interesting that they're speaking to the humans in zodiac or astrology symbols, and when they're talking to themselves, their language completely changes. So it seems like they found a happy medium with speaking in astrology signs, and therefore they could somehow decipher what they're saying.
This one is Egyptian hieroglyphs.
Well, not all of them, but I know that like that M looking thing is.
That looks like the Led Zeppelin logo. I don't know what this font is. Cool. If anybody knows what the gray alien is saying, please tell us on the Twitter at VE Podcast.
I don't think you could have said that any faster.
Perhaps.
I like the very first panel of the third book.
Where the guy gets eaten?
Yeah. It's where Armstrong says, Lego
my egghead.
Lego my egghead, and then it says, Dino Punch!
Yeah, it does. It does say Dino Punch. See, I didn't see that because I was too distracted by dinosaurs. You get distracted by breasts, and I get distracted by dinosaurs. And I think that says something about our personalities.
To my defense, that full-page spread where it said it's twins, it was in the tiniest font.
Yeah,
and her boobs were right there in the middle.
All
of the
right,
page.
Okay. We've
and
spent
this
so
was
much time.
Way up on the top left-hand corner where I'm not even looking. I was enjoying the art. Can't fault me for that. Anyway, yeah. So this is again where I was deciding that I don't really like Mary Maria much because she's just too destructive. She just wants to kill, and Armstrong was trying so hard to convince her, like, you can't kill these people because they can help us, and she's like, oh. That's great. That's a great idea. Let's kill them all and take all their resources away. And he's like, do you even speak the same language that I do? And I didn't like it.
Did you notice that she had the power of the boon as well?
Yes, I did.
What's going on there?
Well, she was in the explosion of the boon when that happened last trade. So I expected her to have that power.
Yeah.
And then they get into the topic of evolution real quickly. Which was...
so we're going to go backwards.
We're going to go backwards?
Yeah, we're going to get a 7th grade education because we're too busy on our machines. That's what they said.
Yeah.
And we're going to focus on butt conversations.
Yeah.
And we're going to get shorter. And our exoskeletons are going to be able to be punched very easily and we'll die. So I think that's backwards evolution.
Yeah, it's de-evolution.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was interesting how they brought how Archer, they're trying to tell Archer everything, and it's like, wait, back up. You're telling me that evolution is real?
But I saw people living side by side with dinosaurs down there.
Right.
Just like my parents' creationist theme park. Oh, God. The next page with all the probes.
Yeah, they're quite phallic looking.
He is a weird guy. Let's talk about the Roanoke's, because I don't want to talk about probing anymore.
Yeah,
I like that the Roanoke's are here. The lost colony of Virginia. Now we know what happened to them.
They went into the Faraway.
They did, and I like their outfits.
They're speaking Algonquin.
They are, yeah.
Nice discussion about the Roanoke's.
But the most exciting part is the ending where we see Archer's disciples.
Yeah, that was unexpected
so
on my part.
This is total geek porn for me.
Okay.
And issue number 12 is one of the coolest issues of all of Valiant for me. So in the original Valiant universe, there is an issue called Rye number 0. And Rye 0 is the link between the present day Valiant stories and the Valiant stories that take place in the year 4000. And it tells all the things that happen in between. Like, it just gives everything away. Like, you learn how Eric dies, and you learn how Harada dies, and you learn how Pete dies. It just gives you all that information. You learn how Bloodshot dies, and it's crazy. Issue number 12 of Archer and Armstrong is kind of like that to me, because there's all these little things that you learn about that Ivar says, has this happened? And you don't know. No, not yet. We'll get into those in a second. In the original Valiant universe, Archer does have disciples. They're called the Archies. And in the year 4000, it's a full-fledged religion. And they all wear the same outfit that he's wearing, including they all wear Nike shoes because Archer wears Nike shoes. So I thought when I saw all the disciples, I was like, oh, that's awesome that they're going to do the same thing. And I think it's cool that Archer has these teachings that he learns from his adventures and he has these writings and that people follow the writings and interpret them, reinterpret them, misinterpret them. I'm not sure how that kind of stuff works. You know, Muhammad had writings. Jesus had Jesus' disciples had writings. So are those the way those writings were, or did they get reinterpreted by the disciples? So,
well, it sounds like Archer has yet to write
he hasn't
any of these things yet. So, did these disciples of him who read his writings actually influence what he's going to write later on?
Well, you mean in this moment right here? Yeah, I think so. How could they not?
So, again, time
so did he write them, or did he remember what was written?
That's
I mean, he's got eidetic memory, so we know that he can, his recall.
It is pretty funny, though, how they knew what he was going to say every time. And he's like, well, what's the next thing I'm going to say? You're like, to say we're just a bunch of stupid heads. And he's like, well, you are.
Yeah. That was a great page. It was, it was, what was it, 8 panels? It was very good.
Yeah. That was enjoyable to read.
So let's talk about some of the revelations that Ivar gives.
Okay.
We know that there are going to be 4 Harbinger Wars.
Yep.
We've seen 2 of them. So we know there'll be 2 more. At least.
It was a few millennia where the 4th one is going to be, he said.
Sure.
We don't know when the 3rd one's going to be, though.
We don't know. We learn about the sentient cities. So these are cities in the future that
have a mind of its own.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah, we might see something about that soon.
Weird.
We learned that the love of Archer's life is
blank.
Faith.
I did not get that. Where is that?
It says it right here, dude.
Did I miss another panel?
Yeah. You're probably looking at because Ivar was naked, so you're probably looking at that, right?
No. I was not. I would probably turn back the page to its twins.
So Archer says,
holy crap.
He says, your brother and Mr. Armstrong and the love of my life are being attacked by aliens. And Ivar says, the love of your life, they've got faith. There is an out to it. The out is that he becomes celibate, and he faith is the act of faith is the love of his life. But I choose to interpret it that he's going to hook up with
faith
with Zephyr. What else did we learn? We learned that he's going to destroy Bloodshot. He says,
wait a minute.
Have you destroyed Bloodshot yet? And he goes, what? These are words that I don't understand that you're saying.
Wait, I'm still going back on faith here.
Okay, all right.
You say they've got faith, love of your life, they've got faith, and you're thinking that in actuality they're talking about the thing, not the person. But you'd like it to be the person.
No, I'm saying that they have an out if that's not the person. Like, I think it's the person. I'm like 98% sure it's the person. But if they never get there in their storytelling, they have the out.
I see. So you're talking about they as in Valiant.
Valiant, yeah.
They have a way out in case. I see.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Moving on now.
Moving
to
on.
Bloodshot. Wait a minute. Archer kills Bloodshot?
Yes.
I expected that actually because his name is Rising Spirit, and Bloodshot is against Rising Spirit. So.
And then Ivar has the great line, oh, this must be just before the goat then.
Let me see this book for a minute. Wait. Did I skip this entire I did.
This is the best page in the book, and you have skipped
I accidentally skipped this because I remember seeing this page where he's completely naked coming out of that thing, and I looked to the next page, and I saw the Assassin's Creed characters, and I was wondering what's going on. How did I miss that entire page? I missed this entire
This page may be the most pivotal page in all of the Valiant universe, and you didn't even read it.
But not on purpose. All right. I'm going to read this. Yeah, I did not remember reading this. I am Ivar in Apada. I did not read any of this. By the way, I'm reading it right now.
So Nick has now read the most important page in Valiant Comics.
Which I should have read in my initial reading, but I somehow skipped that page. I have no idea how I did that.
So to recap, Faith.
Yes, Faith, Bloodshot, and the Goat.
Harbinger Wars, Sentient Cities, Goat, Bloodshot.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And at least he was able to mention Obadiah. Ambrose Bierce. He's like, yes.
That is something I understand. Those are words that make sense to me.
And then he's talking to Ambrose about Twilight Zone, which is funny because that little swirly hole that was in now in Area 51, I took to be the swirly thing from Twilight Zone.
Oh, okay. There's a swirly thing. Oh, yeah.
Hole.
In the opening credits. Yeah. Cool. So we know that the goat is important. Even more important than we thought, because other people are aware of it.
He's intelligent, I'm telling you.
What's really cool about this section to me, though, is that Time Walker, Ivar, Time Walker, he's my favorite Valiant character.
I thought Faith was.
She's my favorite character in the new Valiant, but in the old Valiant, I like Time Walker.
Okay.
They're
Why?
like, because he's cool. He travels through time and stuff. They never utilized him to his potential, though. Like, he would travel through time and he would have the occasional historical adventure. But what they really should have done with him is geek porn adventures where, his stories tie into other people's stories. You should use Time Walker to shape the Valiant universe. You shouldn't use him just to have an adventure. Oh, he met Charlton Heston.
Okay.
The time map, by the way, is from the Acclaim stuff. So the original Valiant stuff, he didn't have a time map. He did travel through time arcs and stuff, but he just kind of flitted about. And then in the Acclaim version, he had a time map. So that was kind of neat that they integrated those two concepts.
That time map was confusing to look at. I don't understand how anyone could understand.
I don't think it's supposed to make sense.
By the way, the thing that Ivar came out of was a fractal.
Yeah.
And I thought that was neat that they had a fractal, and I thought they were going to mention why it was a fractal or what it was that he was in.
Yeah.
But they didn't mention that. Maybe they will at some point later on down the road.
All we know is that he was in this place where he was experiencing all of time and all dimensions simultaneously. So not only was he experiencing all of time, but also all of the possible realities of time simultaneously. How is he not crazy?
How? That's too much for me to even comprehend.
Yeah.
Because there's even the imaginary time theory, which I don't even know if you know about that.
No, tell me.
Imaginary time is that every single possible thing that could happen, there is a universe for that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So there could be a universe up until this point, this very point, and then I could move my hand off in this direction in one universe and move my hand off into this direction in another universe, and it just splits off from there. And it's just mind-boggling to think just how many possible universes it could be if imaginary time could be real, which is actually kind of ironic. But it's mind-blowing to me. So just thinking that Ivar is even just experiencing all of these moments, right? I can't comprehend. It's too big of a number.
Could you imagine a reality where our podcast didn't exist? Those poor people.
I could imagine a reality where Brady's doing the podcast with you instead of me.
Oh, yeah.
Or Tyler.
Who would edit it?
I don't think you guys would edit it. I think you guys would record it and then just put it on.
Oh, well, thank goodness you're around, because you're
damn straight.
Your editing skills are superior.
That's why I have an Emmy nomination. Anyway. I thought that the Seven Sages were originally, before we knew that they were Archer followers, I thought that they were going to be the Seven Deadly Sins.
Oh, cool.
Which would have been pretty neat.
Yeah, that would have been a cool idea, yeah. 7 is a pretty common number in literature. 7 samurai.
Yeah.
You know.
The number 7?
Yes.
I mean, I'm sorry, the movie 7.
Well, those are the 7 deadly sins, though.
That's true, it is.
Don't you love it when I make a statement and then I provide one example?
Yes. That's a very common theme. Like the 7 Samurai or Magnificent 7 or...
Well, those are based on the same thing.
Yes, I know.
7-Elevens, 7-Up, Seventh Heaven.
I think you're coming up with more things than me. Lucky 7. Oh, yeah. Yeah, lucky number 7.
That's right.
So I find it interesting. So Archer, you say that there's Archies later on in the year 4000. So Archer kind of becomes a non-god because he's mortal.
Yeah.
So, and he doesn't consider himself to be a deity in any way. So he's kind of, but people are worshiping him, even though they're not really worshiping him.
Yeah.
So he's a non-god.
He's like Joseph Smith.
Yeah, but yeah, okay.
Or L. Ron Hubbard.
Okay.
He's not quite the Muhammad Jesus level. Although he might. We don't really know what's happened in 4000 yet. Because we're not. Is that even like a time? Like, is that a thing where there'd be stories set in the year 4000? I don't know. Big news.
If only people could see you just slowly lean into the microphone with that creepy look on your face and just say fake news.
Let's talk about the most important thing, though, that happened in the final issue of this arc. I hope you didn't skip this page.
There's a possibility.
Armstrong and Mary Maria have sex. And it's weirder than that because Mary Maria's parents are in her head when it's happening. That is crazy.
That's awkward.
It's so weird.
Do you think that her parents were saying something?
Amelia Earhart, fake dead corpse on the wall, is probably watching.
And those crazy religious parents of hers are seeing that it's premarital.
Yeah. Are they like during the sex, or are they like going, no, what are you doing? Don't have sex with him.
I can only imagine they weren't. Only because she wouldn't have done it if the parents were saying this. What were the parents doing? Were they sleeping? Where'd they go? Did they?
It's weird.
I can't.
It's weird.
That thought did cross my mind, but I didn't. It was too icky for me to think about.
It's weird.
So I didn't really.
I want you to think about it.
Just
just put it in your brain and just like think about it.
Maybe the parents have a thing about that. Maybe
I don't know.
You never know.
They're kinky. They could all. It could be a big kinky thing.
It could be.
Do you agree with Archer that he should be mad?
No. He should be mad, but he's way overreacting.
Way overreacting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean.
But this is okay. But is he? I know that he's an adult, but he hasn't had very many childhood experiences, many adolescent experiences. So is he behaving like a 15-year-old?
In his mind, they were already kind of dating they were meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
So he feels like he's betrayed.
Yeah.
But in reality, he's not betrayed because their brother and sister, not literal blood brother and sister, but they were raised to be brother and sister. So
that's also weird.
Yeah. So no, you can't do that. So you can't really get that upset. I mean, I can understand his frustration because he's have a certain feelings towards Mary Maria, but at the same time, you can't.
I also sympathize with Armstrong in this, where he's like, yeah, I guess I shouldn't have done that, and I'm sorry, but I was drunk, and she's pretty, so I did it.
I mean, I sympathize with him when he says what I just said, which is, you guys are brother and sister, so you guys never have a chance together. Yeah. And even Mary Maria knows that too. So it didn't even occur to her that this would hurt Archer in this way. So
the really truly most interesting part of the whole story, though, happens in the argument where Archer says to Armstrong, "What do you see when you look at me?" And Armstrong views him as an old man.
Yeah.
Because he's seen all of his friends die and wither and age. And that's what he sees when he looks at all people. He sees the inevitability of what it means to be an immortal and to lose all your friends. I thought it was a really powerful moment and really touching. And I really felt bad for him. And what must it be like to be an immortal and watch all those that you care about die?
Yeah, it's got to be difficult. Which is kind of go back into being immortal would change you as a person with all your experiences. I mean, but even Archer is saying you see me as nothing more than just a walking dead body or something like that.
Yeah.
And Armstrong is trying to say, no, man, like you're a good buddy of mine. I really care about you. But nothing that he could have said to Archer would have consoled him at that point because he's so filled with rage.
And then he leaves, and we're left with a heck of a cliffhanger to end the story. Ready for the next volume? You want to know what happens next?
Sure. I like Archer and Armstrong.
Okay. You do like Archer and Armstrong. What's your favorite cover?
The National Enquirer one.
Nice. Good choice.
I like that one. It's because they make them celebrities and how they're just exploiting all the celebrities and
yeah, so that's the pull box variant for issue number 10, and that's a Juan Doe cover. He has very excellent covers all throughout. So yeah, that's a very good choice. I also like a Juan Doe cover, but I like the variant number 13 with the evolution block and the dinosaur. I don't know why I like it. I just do. How was this story?
It was good. I liked this one. I enjoyed it. It was fun to read. It took me about 2 hours to read it.
That's not bad.
No, not at all. And it was I enjoyed the whole Faraway arc, and just how they got in there, how they got the boon, how they became. Well, we already know how they became immortal, but I enjoyed this one quite a bit.
Yeah, I also really like this arc, especially issue 0 and issue 12. Those are great issues. The art is really good. I think both these guys have incredible style, detail to their backgrounds that is really very interesting. This is when Archer and Armstrong became my favorite title of the group.
Why?
I thought it was the right mixture of action and humor, and I also liked all the callbacks to the original Valiant universe as well. So it just really worked for me. And dinosaurs. Put dinosaurs in comics all the time, and that's for me. No magic. I don't want magic in comics, but dinosaurs, that's all right by me.
What if it's dinosaurs and magic?
If, like, a dinosaur had magic?
No, what if it was Shadow Man went back in time to the dinosaur age?
That happened in the original Valiant universe. It was awesome.
Okay.
We're kind of at the end of phase 3 with the books.
Oh, crap, we are.
Yeah. So, what's your favorite title so far?
I gotta think this through. Well, Harbinger is still number 1 for me.
Cool.
Harbinger will, if it continues on the line that it's on right now, it will continue to be number 1. Number 2, I'm gonna say, is Archer and Armstrong.
Cool.
At this point, because I feel like it's a little, as of right now, I'm starting to sense a lot more depth with Archer and Armstrong after reading this trade than Bloodshot. So I'm gonna put Bloodshot at 3 at that point. But I cut this all out, but it took me like a minute or two to figure out which one I wanted to put number 2, Archer and Armstrong or Bloodshot.
Yeah.
So those are still pretty close together, but I'm just going to shift Archer and Armstrong up to number 2 for a little, just because of the more depth, as I just mentioned. Quantum Woody, number 4, and then Shadow Man still 5. Oh, sorry. X-Men of War 5. Shadow Man 6. So
my current rankings would be Archer and Armstrong, Harbinger, Exo-Man of War, Bloodshot, Quantum and Woody, Shadow Man. That's how I put it. Right.
Okay.
Now. Yeah. And Quantum and Woody, just because we've only had one volume, so
yeah,
there's not enough to go on there.
Right.
Yeah.
That's kind of why it's low on my list.
So our tastes are
now.
pretty similar, I think, actually. You want to know what the next episode is?
Not really.
Oh, okay. So this is the end of the series.
Yep. See you guys later. It's been a fun ride. Okay, what's the next book?
Okay, the next book, which I'm putting into your hands right now.
Hey, it's X-Men of War.
X-Men of War.
His fist is backwards. No, it's not. What is he doing with his fist?
He's flying through the air like Superman. That's not the important cover to show you. Okay. The important cover to show you is that one.
Oh, there we go. That'll be fun.
Yes.
Gilad and Eric, featuring the Eternal Warrior.
So you can reach us on Twitter at VE Podcast. Please email us, vepodcast@gmail.com. Our website is vepodcast.wordpress.com. Stitcher, iTunes, please leave us reviews. We would really appreciate it. That's how other people can find us. Hey, Nick, where do you think the United States is the number 1 country for downloads? What do you think the number 2 country is
Canada.
for download? Canada's number 3. So there is a country where we're getting more downloads than Canada. So come on, Canadians, download our stuff.
I have no idea.
Australia.
Australia?
we're getting a ton of hits in Australia.
That's pretty awesome.
For some reason.
Australians, I really like John Butler Trio. Okay.
Australians, tell us what reading Valiant is like in Australia and how easy or hard it is for you to get your comics. I would like to know, because you're totally
Are there
far away
any
from us.
cultural references that, well, actually anyone in any other country other than the USA are having a hard time comprehending? I just think
it's cool that
that is pretty cool. I would like to visit Australia someday. I want to go and see the Kimberley over there, which is supposed to be this really pristine, untouched land by modern people. I know that there's some Aborigines there, but
cool.
I'd really like to see the Kimberley. Anyway.
So that's it for this episode. Join us next week when we talk about the 4th volume of X-Men of War Homecoming. And I just want to mention again that we're proud members of the Comics Podcast Network. And you can go on their website at comicpodcast.com. Thank you. Bye-bye.
And I also found it funny when Armstrong punched the alien and he's like, I'm just going to send you to good night for a little while. And he's like, what are you made of, Jello? And then when the aliens are speaking to each other, they have that little asterisk and it's saying, it's speaking It said it was speaking USA only for when they said fanny, which I didn't know what that meant.
If fanny in Great Britain means a vagina, which is why you should never wear a fanny pack in Great Britain.
Okay.
Who answered that the handkerchief was yellow? Very good indeed. Now I'd like to see who answered what handkerchief. Aha. You three boys, please come with me. I'm sorry, boys, but I'm afraid you three have tested positive for sex addiction.